While Noble Knights, the Tier 1 or Tier 2 deck of last format, appeared to have escaped unscathed on the last ban list since none of their cards were hit, the deck suffered immensely from the nerf to balance, which now restricts the user's ability to activate monster effects on their first turn. Because of this, the deck will have to move away from balance, which previously guaranteed a monster, spell, and trap in their opening hand, to skills that no longer grant them any sort of consistency. My favorite skill in testing has been Field of Warriors, which helps the deck push for damage and simplify game states, giving all warrior monsters and beast warriors, but that doesn't really count for this deck, an added 200 attack and defense, boosting Madrot and Boars to 1900 attack and Dristan to 2000 attack. However, there are other good skills including Equipment Restock to get an equipped spell back from the grave, and Destiny Draw to draw whatever card you need after losing 2000 life points. But let's talk about the deck list. We're on 3 Madrot, 1 Dristan, 3 Merlin, 1 Brothers, 2 Boars, 1 Gwen, 3 Arf, 1 Caliburn, 2 Gallatin, 2 Destiny, 2 Until Noble Arms are needed once again, whew, that's a mouthful, and 1 Treacherous Trap Hole. For the extra deck, we're on 2 Favagis, 1 Foragis, 1 Gaia Charger, 1 Malevolent Sin, and 2 Custanine. The goal of this deck is to consistently set up a pop on your opponent's turn and overwhelm them with the card advantage this deck can generate. Madrot, with an equip and no other monsters on the field, can special summon a Noble Knight from the deck and then destroy the equip to transfer it to the monster you just summoned. Madrot is the main starter for this deck, and by running Merlin, you are essentially running 6 copies of Madrot. The card you will be summoning the most off Madrot, though not always, is Boars. Boars has the effect that, with an equip card, can reveal 3 Noble Arms from your deck to add 1 of them to your hand, and send the rest to your grave. This effect is absolutely bonkers and creates so much advantage, not only plussing you a card in the immediate, but setting up the grave full of equipped spells or the trap or Gwen. Madrot and Boars become dark monsters and level 5 when equipped with the Noble Arm equip spell, which is important to keep in mind. Dristan immediately pops a card when equipped with an equipped spell. This is a mandatory effect as well as a once per turn. Brothers can special summon up to 2 other Noble Knights from your hand. This rarely comes up except to push for damage or to make Custanine, however its second effect is where it really shines. By shuffling any 3 Noble Knight or Noble Arms cards from your graveyard back into your deck, you get to draw a card. This gives the deck a fantastic grind game as well as nets you even more advantage. Finally, for the real main deck monsters, we have Merlin, which can tribute itself to special summon any Noble Knight from the deck, which is almost always Madrot to get your plays started. And it can banish itself from the grave to perform an Exceed summon with the monsters on your field. This helps the deck dodge removal effects like Karma Cut, as well as facilitate the core combo of this deck, which I'll talk about a bit more later. And then we have Gwen, which is a monster that can equip herself to a Noble Knight monster from the grave or the hand, and gives it 300 attack, as well as an effect based on the attribute of the monster she's equipped to. If dark, your opponent's monster is destroyed at the start of the damage step, and if light, your monster is protected from a card effect destruction. If either effect is used, she's sent to the grave, but that's fine since she can re-equip herself again next turn. She's also one of the best outs to Loonlight Saber Dancer, since when she's equipped to either Boars or Madrot, they turn into dark monsters, which gets around the fact that Saber Dancer cannot be targeted by card effects. Or you can use it to out other boss monsters that this deck would otherwise struggle to out. Now onto the real equips. They all share the tats that they can only be equipped to warrior monsters and that once per turn, when they're destroyed, they can re-equip themselves to a Noble Knight on your side of the field. Arf can lower the equipped monster's attack by 500 to pop a set card on your opponent's side of the field. This includes set back row and set monsters. You can equip this to an opponent's warrior monster to pop their back row and weaken their monster in the process, which does come up sometimes versus Onomats or Amazons. Note that if they flip up the card, it will not destroy it since Arf specifies a set target. Caliburn gives 500 attack and once per turn gives you 500 life points. Since it's a soft once per turn, you can sometimes gain 1000 to 1500 life points per turn by equipping and re-equipping Caliburn onto your monsters. Gallatin boosts the monster by 1000 attack, but your monster loses 200 attack during each of your standby phases. It's Noble Knight's biggest attack boosting equip spell. And the last equip is Destiny, which protects a monster from destruction, either battle or card effect, once per turn. While this card was even better when Desperado was in the meta, it's still a fantastic equip spell, helping your monsters stick on the board. Onto the trap cards, we have Until Noble Arms are needed once again, which I'll just refer to as the Noble Knight trap from here on out. lets you excavate the top of your deck equal to the number of Noble Arm equipped cards you have on your field, and then add one of them to your hand. Note that you don't shuffle your deck afterward, and when this card is in the grave, but not the turn it's sent there, you can banish it to special summon a Noble Knight from your deck that has a different name from the ones you control or the ones in your graveyard. This is one of the best advantage gainers in the deck next to boars, and helps you extend your plays and push for more damage. You need at least 2 for this deck. Lastly is Treacherous Trap Hole, which pops 2 cards on the field if you have no traps in your grave. Since the Noble Knight trap banishes itself to activate its effect, it's very easy to meet the conditions of Treacherous and ruin your opponent's turn. This card can easily swing games, and many opponents forfeit on the spot when they see this card flip over. Now you might be wondering, why 22 cards? Why not 20 cards? Wouldn't that make it more consistent? But oddly enough, it makes it less consistent. Running 20 cards means that in your 4 card opening hand, you will have a 60.1% chance of opening full combo, which is either Madrot or Merlin and any equipped spell. When running 21 cards, you will have a 61.6% chance of opening full combo. It in fact goes up when you add more equips. However, by running 22 cards, we increase those odds further to 62.4%. But the problem is that when we push that to 23 cards, it only increases those odds to 62.6% chance. And that only dampens the likelihood of opening a card like Treacherous, which can be an instant game winner. Because of those diminishing returns, I believe that 22 cards with 8 equips is optimal for Noble Knights after the balance nerf, and is the perfect sweet spot for consistency. Onto the extra deck. 5-a-Disc can pop a monster on the field once per turn, and floats into a level 4 or higher Noble Knight when it's sent from the field to the grave by any means. It's good, simple removal. You'll be making this pretty much every duel. 4-a-Disc can detach a material to non-targeting pop back row equal to the number of Noble Arms you control. It has to be equal, so you might end up popping your own Noble Arms cards when wiping out your opponent's back row, which is fine, since you can re-equip the ones you want. 4-a-Disc, unlike 5-a-Disc, does not float after it's sent to the grave, and you'll make this sometimes, maybe in 25% of your games, but when it comes up, it's so strong. 4-a-Disc and 5-a-Disc both have the effect that when they are at seed summon, can equip any number of Noble Arms from the grave to it, which helps you recur Noble Arms that would otherwise be dead. The last Noble Knighted seed we run is Custanine, which can detach any number of its materials to bounce that many of your opponent's cards back to the hand. It's great for forcing back row or removing monsters from the field to push for lethal. Also, after this card is destroyed, it uses itself for an Exceed summon of another Noble Knight card and attaches itself to it as material. Because this is a proper Exceed summon, cards like 4-a-Disc and 5-a-Disc do get their effects to re-equip Noble Arms from the grave to itself and have a material to use its effects. It's a fantastic card that does so much for Noble Knights. Next we have Gaia Charger, which is a card you can plop on top of 5-a-Disc to pierce over your opponent's defense position monster. If your 5-a-Disc is weak due to ARF or locked down by a Fiendish Chain, making Gaia Charger can help re-establish board presence. Malevolent Sin is a rank 4 that can banish an opponent's monster until the next standby phase and gains 300 attack after battling. This helps close out duels in simplified game states, or just temporarily removes problematic monsters. It's a really good card. Now onto the combos. There are 2 core combos that every Noble Knight player should know. Number 1 gives you a pop on your opponent's turn and sets up for the following turn. All it requires is a Merlin plus any equip spell. First, you normal summon your Merlin, you use its effect for Madrot, equip Madrot with any equip spell, then special summon Boars from the deck, and re-equip that equip spell to Boars. You activate Boars, revealing 2 of the Noble Knight trap and 1 Gwen. By doing so, you are guaranteed to have at least 1 of the trap in the grave. Then, you use Gwen to equip herself to Madrot and pass. Then, on your opponent's turn, whenever you want, you can pop any face-up card on their field by activating Merlin's Engrave effect to Exceed summon. Then chain the trap that's in the grave to summon Dristan from the deck. Dristan will hit the field, then Boars and Madrot will overlay into 5-a-Disc. Then, with the equip spell that falls off, you equip that to Dristan, and then you can pop a card on their side of the field. While statistically you have a 37.8% chance of opening Merlin plus any equip spell, it's really a bit less, because you want the Dristan in the deck and you need a trap in the grave off the Boars effect. And sometimes you'll open with one of the traps, and then add the second trap to your hand off Boars, or sometimes you just open both the traps. This is why some people play 3 of the trap, but the cost of bricking more for your opening hands is not worth it in my opinion. especially since the deck does not have the room for Karma Cut or Identity Break to discard these extra cards without losing more consistency. The second combo is the Lethal combo. This comes up if your opponent passes on a singular monster or nothing at all. This can be done with just Madrod and any equip, though maybe 2 if you get unlucky. And since Merlin is basically 3 extra copies of Madrod, it's very consistent to pull off. It's a lot of the same steps as before, Madrod into Boars, but instead of Boars reveal Gwen and 2 traps, you will reveal Gwen, Gallatin, and Caliburn. Next, you equip a Noble Arm to Madrod and make it level 5, and then it's Seed Summon into Favagis. Favagis will use its effect to equip Caliburn and Gallatin from the grave. Then you will use Gwen onto the Favagis. With all these equips onto Favagis as well as the field spell, Favagis will have 4200 attack. And even if you don't have the field spell, it's 4000 attack, which is perfect lethal. Favagis can also pop a monster if you needed to. And that's the deck. There are a lot of extra cards you can run, including back removal like Cosmic Cyclone or MST, back row protection like Forbidden Lance, or great removal traps like Karma Cut or Identity Break, or even just more Noble Knight cards like Pelennor, which is similar to Dristan, just a bit slower but more rewarding, or Black Lancelin, which makes it easier to access the rank 5s, but I believe keeping the deck as concise as possible after the balance nerfs is the correct way to play it. While these cards can help you win more, the core of this deck is resolving Madrod, and this deck aims to do that as consistently as possible. Noble Knights are still very strong even after the balance nerfs, they've just been knocked down a few peds. So give this deck a try, as it's still very fun to play, and people don't really expect it anymore. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.